So, good morning, good afternoon, very welcome, and you are all very welcome to the first IPRA webinar for 2025. And 2025 is a very special year for us in the International PR Association because our association turns 70. It's a very special time and year for us, and actually the topic of the webinar that we have today is also a very special one. It's about leadership and communications in the era of general AI. So, or shortly, it's about human touch to the AI. We will have our experts, which I will introduce in a second, talking about AI and how do we give it a human touch, because AI does need a human touch. It needs to be ethical and with integrity. And here is where PR comes into play. So without further ado, I'm pleased and delighted to hand over to Natasha, our lovely president for this year. Natasha Pavlovich Buyas, if I have to be formally correct and pronounce all your names, Natasha.
Thank you, Svetlana. Thank you so much. Yes, I know some of you, but most of people I don't know. Good day, everyone, whether it is morning or evening in your part of the world. You never know. That's what I learned in IPRA. Well, as IPRA president from last year and this year as well, it is my great honor and pleasure to welcome you to this, our first webinar of the year. But this is not just a webinar, an ordinary webinar. This is truly special occasion for several reasons, if you ask me. It represents the remarkable outcome of a collaborative effort between a global group of academic researchers and our IPRA esteemed practitioners. And I'm very proud of this partnership, which bridges theory and practice to address some of the most pressing issues in our field. What makes this moment even more significant is another result of these joint efforts, the creation of IPRA Gold Paper on a critically relevant topic, ethical standards and guidelines for the use of AI in public relations. And I'm sure Marco will tell us more later on. And as we all know, AI is reshaping our industry and we cannot do much. But this document marks a vital step in guiding our profession through this change. Of course, we recognize that AI development will continue to progress and requiring updates. But we sincerely hope that each of you today present and your colleagues will contribute to this ongoing conversation, particularly to the activities of our AI chapter, which Svetlana will lead, I'm so sure, very successful this year as well. So thank you for joining us today, and let us work together to shape the future of PR with responsibility, integrity, and innovation, and enjoy the rest of the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Natasha. So now I have the pleasure to introduce to you Marko Selakovic from SPJ School of Global Management, who will introduce to us the global, the IPRA's gold paper and its key findings. Marco?
We lost Marco.
Maybe Marco is talking on mute, which is where the most talented speeches happen. But I'm maybe
I'm not seeing Marco connected at all.
Exactly.
Yes, I am very much connected.
Marco, hello.
I was going to say, yeah, Marco, I was going to say it's not possible that Marco is not connected, okay? It's not possible.
So here I am, yeah.
So, Marco, I was just introducing you, and we are eagerly awaiting one of the great news pieces of news of this webinar, introducing this IPRA's number 19 gold paper, the first one for this year.
Very special one.
Absolutely.
And the first one in last 5 years, if I recall well, the first gold paper since 2019, actually.
Well, that's the point. We don't want to produce papers just for the sake of producing papers. We do this only when we have something very important to say, which is why our gold papers are not that many, but they are always very very worth reading and having at our desks for many years ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Svetlana, for the announcement. Thank you, Natasha, for the opportunity to work on this gold paper. It was not an easy task. For those who do not know me, my name is Dr. Marko Selakovic. I am practitioner academic in the field of public relations and communications, active as a practitioner for more than 20 years, which makes me feel old, and I deny the fact that my age corresponds with my experience. Also, for last almost 10 years in academia, working in Dubai as a professor of communications. And I had the privilege to work throughout almost entire 2024 together with Professor Dejan Verčić, together with Svetlana, together with other team members, which are international team of academics and pra-academics from across different continents. So just to mention, for example, we had Alice Chen from the United States. We had Flora Hung-Beseke from coming from Australia now, and with previous experience from Southeast Asia. Then Dr. Nikolina coming from the Middle East. Then Anat Kalac coming from Europe. Dejan also Verčić coming from Europe. Myself coming from the Middle East. So we covered few geographies, few continents, and worked as a committee together with Svetlana, last but not least, who actually provided precious insights about previous IPRA's developments related to this field. So work of the committee was very intense because we included number of different things. Gold paper as a strategically important document that needs to last for some time, even though we know how volatile and how dynamic artificial intelligence is, required proper preparation and proper scrutiny. So thanks to Professor Dejan, and thanks to Nikolina, and thanks to Natasha and Svetlana, a Delphi study, including 79 practitioners, was performed to understand on how IPRA members and how PR practitioners are using and perceiving the AI right now. Then, in addition to this, we studied the general framework for such ethical guidelines. And because IPRA is under the umbrella of the United Nations as independent organization that has consultative status in the UN, we opted for 2021 UNESCO recommendations for AI ethics. Also, we had to study IPRA's 2023 AI guidelines, which were one of the earliest documents in the field. We also studied 24 other organizations and their ethical codes and guidelines to understand whether they included any principles that are applicable. And we also studied body of the available scientific research literature to see what academia and science also consider about it. So we included voices of practitioners, academics, international organizations, other organizations which are on national or regional level, and we came to 7 principles I will share with you in like few seconds. Before I share the principles, I will just share a couple of considerations we identified in the process. First and foremost, majority of PR practitioners included in the study use ChatGPT and Canva. However, understanding of the artificial intelligence is associated with generative AI only. and artificial intelligence has potential that goes far beyond application only through generative AI solutions. Other solutions are far less used than ChatGPT and Canva, but in the near future it can change. You see how suddenly ChatGPT appeared and how suddenly Canva appeared and how suddenly they became omnipresent. So who guarantees that in the near future we will not have another application that will emerge in the same way? Most of those involved in the Delphi study mentioned that this information created by using AI is one of the main challenges and the main threats for the future. So we had to take this into consideration as well. And then, based on literature review, based on UNESCO's 10 principles, based on IPRA's AI guidelines, which were well-grounded and included honesty, integrity, openness, transparency, accuracy, no misleading. So all these factors we needed to take into account. And then as a joint committee, we managed to come to the 7 principles. And let me share my screen and show you those 7 principles. So just give me a second to open up, if I can. The first principle, of course, is to do no harm. So this is, for me, the most important principle that we need to take into account. Do no harm, meaning we cannot and should not use the artificial intelligence for any kind of wrongdoing or for any harm to any human being or nature or any other aspect that we need to take into account when thinking about all this. Secondly, AI needs to have human oversight, and we cannot assign the responsibility to the AI. It is responsibility of PR professionals to ensure that AI is used in ethical manner. Then the third principle is accountability and non-discrimination. So AI should not be discriminatory, and it should have capability to make the decisions based on equal rights and equal principles. Explainability and transparency. If the decision is made by the artificial intelligence, the process behind the decision or the process behind certain design or the process behind certain outcome needs to be explained and needs to be transparent. Right to privacy and data protection, another challenge which is very important. We need to ensure that privacy is respected, and we need to protect the data of the users who get in contact with the artificial intelligence, so those data do not become public good without consent. AI sixth principle, AI needs to be accurate, and it must be forbidden to use generative AI to create the content that will intentionally or purposefully mislead. So AI cannot and should not be used for creation of any misleading content, including, but not limited to, right now including, but it is very important to underline this, fake content, false context, so misinterpretation of the data, deceptive content that leads to deceiving the audience, and deep fakes. Lastly, awareness and literacy. Practitioners need to be equipped to promote actually public understanding and awareness of generative AI. But at the same time, they need to educate themselves to make sure that they know how to do it ethically and properly. So what are our recommendations aside from those 7 principles you can see? First, to embrace AI early, investigate, research, study the potentials, but at the same time, second recommendation, maintain control over the AI. So remember that you are the ones who hold the button. So you are the ones with the push button. In order to know where is the borderline of ethical use of AI, upskill yourselves for ethical AI use. And lastly, foster collaboration with those who have flagship initiatives like academic community in order to understand the trends and direction of further development. For IPRA, I believe IPRA will be fully equipped, and we believe as a committee to be a good source of educational and training resources for ethical AI use. Then, of course, these ethical guidelines and standards will be available to everyone, and more detailed and more thorough discussion is about to follow in the coming period. IPRA should be the place where networking and collaboration will happen to actually dig deeper on the topic of AI ethics. Also, IPRA should be the place where case studies and best practices will be showcased, and also the place that can provide ethical training, ethical certification, but also which can ensure advocacy and industry representation, ensure proper research and reporting, and ensure access to practical toolkits and materials for the professional. I hope this is just the first step. I believe we should elaborate in more detail gold paper on a separate session that can be scheduled and where we can discuss each and every aspect to nitty-gritties. But also, I believe IPRA should, in the coming times, take a leading role to create proper public awareness campaign among not only PR practitioners, but also the stakeholders and decision makers about the importance of the ethical artificial intelligence. So without any further delay, I would like once more to thank all the committee members. I would like to thank Natasha, IPRA Secretary General also, and IPRA Board and IPRA Leadership. And I'm looking forward to continuing those initiatives and to continue synergies between practitioners and academics in the future for the benefit of professional public relations and communications community. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I'm at disposal for any further clarification. Thanks.
Marco, thank you very much. This was extremely insightful. Thank you very much for the great overview. And yes, as you rightfully point, the conversation is actually just beginning with the kickoff of this gold paper, the conversation that would bridge academic knowledge and insights with the practical and best practices and practical manners and rules. So we are just at the beginning of this, and of course, International PR Association is the platform where this conversation can happen for the benefit of everyone. So, and as we talk about conversations and dialogues, I'm very happy to welcome the initial conversation between Imad Lahat, who is the global head of APCO AI Comms Lab, and Professor Dr. Dejan Verčić from the University of Ljubljana, who was also part of the gold paper efforts, to frame the conversation, which is about leadership and communications in the era of artificial intelligence and GenAI. Dear gentlemen, over to you.
Thank you very much, Svetlana.
Thank you.
As I was involved in production of this golden paper, I must say that my impression was at the end that we as a profession are a little bit behind the curve. So the speed with which we are adopting artificial intelligence is not as fast as one would expect from the top of a profession like ours. And another finding which struck me is that there is an obvious fear of what is in front of us. And this mixture of slowness and fear is something we need to address very fast, and we have to speed up the development of our professional knowledge and practice. And that's why I'm extremely happy that Imad and I can discuss what is going on, because Imad Lahat is running the APCO's AI Comms Lab. APCO, who doesn't know, is one of the leading public affairs companies in the world. And Imad is running its global AI center from Dubai. Actually, today he's joining us from United States, but his position is in Dubai. And I think that it would be interesting, Imad, to hear how did you come in AI field, and how would you connect your personal development to what you are doing now for the whole APCO global network?
Thank you, Dejan, and thank you, Svetlana, and Natasha, and the IPRA team as well for the opportunity. Well, this is part of transformation. Originally, when I joined APCO in 2013, I was responsible for leading the digital practice. And as we progressed into making sure that our business is digitally enabled, and with social media and other digital platforms as they were emerging, so that's part of continuous evolution from ourselves and the team. And as we progressed, we saw the next frontier that's coming up for us is not only change, it's not a digital transformation, it's a business transformation. And we started seeing signs of technologies that are going to come shape our industry, our clients' industry, and so on and so forth. Now, we all know that AI is not something new. The terminology and the uses of AI and the concepts has been around since the 50s and 60s. And there are so many papers and studies about AI and the potential of AI. And what made AI possible today, the way we see it, is I would say some of it is of course, the infrastructure and the hardware mushrooming and growth that happened over the years. With the microprocessing, I think what made it much more available to us today is cloud computing, which made that much more democratized. Because originally, if you remember, people with my age as well, when IBM used to have their supercomputers and playing chess against the global champions in chess and so on and so forth. Imagine the machine itself, the processing power that needs to be done. Companies like IBM had the deep pockets to be able to do that. So it was not something that normal companies and other industries outside of the tech industry would be able to have access to at a reasonable costing proposition that would make it much more advanced or available to them and their consumers. So fast forward with technology on the hardware front, on the software front, and everything that happened made it much more democratized. Now, so for us, we launched in Dubai. So APCO, as you mentioned, is a global communications consultancy and public affairs firm, headquarters in Washington, D.C. But we have a couple of, we're in 34 plus markets, offices across the globe. But we have excellent centers in different parts of the world. So Dubai is one of these. And so we set up in Dubai the AI Comms Lab back in 2018. So back then, if you look today and AI, hardly anyone was talking about AI. Today, it's a household name with all the investments and the brands that we see out there. And we started playing and we set up a lab because we wanted to experiment and give ourselves some kind of the freedom to try stuff, starting with the lab and then expanding it internally to some teams in areas that the technology allowed us and the budgets allowed us. So we were playing with things to understand how we can, synthesize and understand and gather and analyze data coming from the different work we do for clients, whether it be on analyzing their reputation or monitoring their risks and so on and so forth. Another area we started playing with was content generation before ChatGPT and all the facilities available at Copilot for people, to create solutions to kind of like come up with smart content. And we played as well with tools that has to do with video production, try to optimize that as much as possible. And throughout the years, we got the chance to test and play and develop internal small solutions for us to be able to understand how this is moving. And as technology evolved and these became, as we're saying, household names with the different platforms available out there, we're starting bringing those tools inside and create our own IP, which we called Margie. Margie is, a salute for our founder, Marjorie Krauss, who founded the company in 1984. And we thought in our 40th anniversary, the best celebration for us and recognition for Marjorie Krauss, who still actively runs the business, is to name our IP and our colleague Margie. And so Margie, in a nutshell, connects an infinite number of data sources that can be internal or external data, and connects to some of the best AI tools and platforms out there, LLMs and so on and so forth, to solve solutions for us or our clients. We're not a technology firm, we're consultants. And with that in mind, we want to be data agnostic, we want to be platform agnostic. So much of the principles that Marco highlighted in the gold paper, we apply in our daily practices to make sure that we safeguard our clients' data and best practices around that. And the aim is to make sure that we're making use of the best technologies while taking the client into perspective as let's say, the center of our attention and what makes sense to them. And it's not like we're forcing on them certain technologies. We're working with them on optimizing the skill sets. Our mantra when it comes to AI is not, and I hear this a lot in the business, like we're going to apply AI to automate some tasks. We want to save cost. We want to do all of this, which is great. It happens. It's a byproduct. But the reason why we're using AI is to make sure that we have so many talents and skill sets in the business, people with years of experience, then in solving big problems for our clients. We want to make sure that they are equipped with the best infrastructure to do their job better and to provide really strategic advice to C-suite, enabled by the speed of technology, by the depth of the things that they can do, and really use their brains and their experience to add value to our clients. So it's a partnership between technology and human. So many people talk about that as part of like general positioning, but actually this is how we practice it. And we bring the client in as well, because we create the partnership between technology and our clients so they can use it, and we don't use it in the background just for us to save on operations and cost. So that's in a nutshell how it started. On me personally, how I keep myself, I think this is, in our industry, when you work in the communications and public affairs, if you're not aware and up to date what's happening around you, you're going to lose touch with your clients. Because today, if you look at AI, our clients are facing the same challenges that every single business is changing. They have mandates to apply AI across the business spectrum, whether it be if they're manufacturing and on the manufacturing plant and the machines they're going to be using and how AI is going to make it much more efficient. In supply chain, in shipping, in consulting, in pharma, medical sector. So AI is being injected in all aspects of the business. And our clients are going through change. They want to understand how they're going to deal with it, what kind of talents of the future they need to onboard, what kind of processes where AI is in some places replacing jobs, and we have to admit that, but in so many places as well, creating enormous opportunities for new jobs. So if we're not keeping ourselves updated, and myself and our colleagues, in what's happening, then we're going to lose touch from the challenges that our clients are facing, and we'll not be able to support them. So I think it's a mutual benefit where we learn from them and we share our experience with them, because we're all on that journey, and nobody, I think, has the answer for everything. You're on mute there.
Sorry, what Imad said is that I would reinterpret that youth is an advantage at the moment because young people are more open to experimenting. As Imad Center is called a lab because they want to play, they want to experiment. We all have to learn how to experiment. We all have to learn how to be young again, to experience new things, because things are developing so fast that actually those youngsters who are born into what's going on now are going to be much more advantageous compared to us because they behave differently. We've seen this same process with digitalization. Digital natives use digital tools differently than we do. And the same is going to happen now with artificial intelligence. So first of all, we have to be able to make mistakes. We have to be able to learn. We have to be able to play if we want to catch up. I think this is one of the important things that we have to learn. The second thing is that we need a new kind of renaissance, so to say, in our profession. As Imad said, you have to look around into different fields because things are happening at different fields at the same time. And if we are not following all that, we are going to be behind the curve. So we need digital and AI literacy, so to say, to be implemented in what to do. But to be the best in our profession, we have to link that to our communication research, so that what the core of our profession is. We have to understand business knowledge, so we have to study business, and we need humanities in all of that because of the two things which are becoming more and more important: ethics on one side and aesthetics on the other side, because what already digitalization brought and artificial intelligence is going to advance it even more. All communication is also becoming more verbal and more auditive and more visual. And we are basically a literal profession. We were all trained to write press releases, not to make video releases and things like that. So it's a completely different ballgame which is emerging out there, and we have to learn how to play with that. And then we come to the thing where IPRA can play an important role, and that is lifelong learning. If we look at what is happening around us, as Imad said, artificial intelligence first emerged in the 1950s, more or less. And I would say that majority of our routines that we have in public relations also emerged at that time. You know, the way we think about media, the way we think about how to deal with media, how to deal with publics, how to deal with stakeholders, all of that is more or less positioned in the mindset of the mid-20th century. If we go reading the textbooks for students, you will see that majority of textbooks talk about the world that doesn't exist anymore. And this last push in AI is actually 2.5 years old. It was only in the middle of 1922 that ChatGPT came with the latest versions, which we are all using now in different in different versions. Even if we are using Gemini or we are using Copilot or whatever. And this speed, only 2.5 years. Now we are all forgetting that, those who are already playing with AI seriously, that this is just 2.5 years. Now imagine what is going to happen in next 2.5 years or in next 5 or 10 years. And this is something where the ability to learn, the ability to catch up with the newest developments and being able to run fast enough is going to become extremely important. That's why I'm saying we are going to see an emergence of empowered youth coming in, and those of us who are not so young anymore, for us, the critical factor is going to be how fast can we learn and how fast can we play with all of that. Now, Imad, how do you see that in your practice?
Well, you touch on so many very important points where us as an industry, even outside the industry, we have questions around that. You mentioned youth, which I totally agree with you about the potential of youth in the coming years. But at the same time, so many of the jobs, and I'm talking from our industry, our company, and our peers, and businesses like us, even in consulting business like the Deloitte of the world and the McKinseys of the world and so on and so forth, when you have juniors coming in and ideally they start as interns and they move into junior positions and they work for a couple of years, even in law firms as well, as you graduate and you pass your bar and you want to do practice within in a law firm. So usually you come in and the majority of the work that interns and junior folks do for a couple of years, and really they make the majority of the work. And when it comes to research, when it comes to hard kind of mechanical jobs, and we tell them, and I went through this as well, that for you to grow, you need to understand the basics. You need to do the research. You need to do these 200 slides presentation if you are a consultant. You need to understand the sector and the industry and so on and so forth. And they really put labor hours beyond the I would say the normal working hours to qualify themselves to be like mid-level later on and to move into the consulting field. And now us as a company and the business as well, with AI doing so much of that work. So the question is, what kind of youth skill sets coming into the business we need? How we're going to create the partnership between them and the technology? Because we're going to say, for you to understand the business, go do research yourself, and this is how you're going to learn, where AI can turn that in minutes and hours. So what's the critical thinking? How we're going to onboard these new skill sets? What kind of say marriage and partnership between technology and them, and how we're going to equip them to be the next future leaders of the companies? And that's some of the challenges that we're working with clients to solve on how, because if I remember well, like back in my days, when you apply, you have a CV, you put like proficiency in Microsoft PowerPoint and Excel and doing, Photoshop and whatever it is, if you're an advertising. So you put all of these softwares that you're very comfortable with as you apply for a job. So today, are we looking for people with knowledge in prompt engineering and people with a basic and good understanding on how to use AI tools and platforms and how we're adapting our business as well. So there is, I think, still a disconnect that's going to be, of course, fixed, but that starts with the university. And as you said, us as a business, as an industry, we are slow to adapt to some extent. You come from academia, better than I do as well, but academia take as well longer to adapt. I look at, I give a personal example. My son, he's in the University of Amsterdam studying communications. And I look at his curriculum today and what he's studying and how he's studying it. I see courses that I took back in university when I did marketing and communication. He's studying them almost the same way, and it's a top-notch university. So AI, again, there's a big debate in universities. Will we allow our students to use AI? To what extent? In some ways, they're penalizing them using AI because it's considered, ethical use and plagiarism and so on and so forth. So there's this debate with kids. Like, I have these immense tools available to me. My university is telling me you have to do the reading. When I do things on online, I write them. The tools in the university are grabbing it as plagiarism, where it's not. But anyway, I have to use online to get this content. So it's I think it's a transformational as well ecosystem for academia to prepare the new generation. They are very good in using AI and other things in their personal life, but if you adapt it to university and business life, it's like, this is at home and this is in business. I cannot use this, I can use that, and so on and so forth. So that's a very interesting point, which I would like to hear your view on that. But before that, the title of our session today is leadership. And I think there's a big responsibility on leaders of businesses to steward and to drive the change and the transformation. It's their responsibility, not the responsibility of the digitally savvy that are coming in. We all know that C-suite, they are responsible for sustaining and long-term strategy planning and consistency and growth of a certain business. That will not change. But today, things that we're working with CEOs and the C-suite and board is helping them how they can be actually, and this is in line with what Marco presented, how they can be like the stewards of ethical AI adoption in companies, making sure that as they apply AI, it follows all the ethical standards that mentioned in the gold paper. Having a good balance between technology and the human values, and make sure that we have a good mix between both of them, and the right application of that. Making sure that they're building businesses or enabling businesses by fostering a culture of innovation. Like for us, the company gave us permission in 2018 to play and to make mistakes and so on and so forth. And we have to make mistakes, because if you're going to wait for the ultimate perfect product, you're going to lose the race. So you have to jump in, do things, and then update them and learn from them and make them better as you operate. Otherwise, you lose the race. So they are responsible for creating businesses that are future-proofed against disruption. And AI is a disruption today, being much more resilient. So there is a responsibility on the leadership to enable and have people in the business and from outside the business come, and within the guidelines on making sure that we have the human value, the ethical use of AI, space for innovation, and for people to test stuff and play and work with it and try new stuff. These are areas where people feel enabled, that they can grow and they can operate. Because the last thing I'm going to say about this topic, if you talk leadership as well, it's not about the CEO only. 80%, 85% of the work we do in our business is run by middle management, because they run the machine. And historically, middle managers, and let's take our business or take consulting business to some extent, historically they were information gatekeepers, which means they used to collect information from different sources. They use different softwares or Excel or whatever it is to analyze, make sense of it, put recommendation on top of it, and put some kind of tactical plans and strategies to give them to their senior managers and to run their business and to manage team as well. Now, so much of that data collection, data analysis, recommendation, and what to be done with thousands of sets of data, AI is able to do it. So what's the new role of middle management? So middle management move from data aggregators and data gatekeeper, and they feel power because they have this data, and their managers depend on them because they can crunch the data and make sense of it, and to move more into integrators, where they have data and how we can make strategic value out of it, and how to coach the teams, the junior ones, on how to integrate innovation in their thinking, how we're going to develop their skills to be much more adapted to the new ecosystem and environment. So I think there's multiple layers in management and leadership that their role is changing. Being aware of that is the first step to do it.
Absolutely agree. And as you mentioned, when you started the lab, you figured out that introducing digitalization at that time meant digital transformation. And introducing AI now means another type of business transformation and re-engineering that we are all witnessing. I would say that what AI is doing to businesses like ours, to all white-collar workers, so to say, is what steam engine did to manual workers. Okay? So it definitely eliminated a lot of employments, and this definitely is going to happen within our profession as well. I have a friend who works in a large company, and they have just had one of the top consulting companies doing a thorough review of the future of their business, and he directly, as the head of the communications department, and it's a large communications department, he received a clear recommendation to lower the number of employees within communication department for 2/3 in the next 3 years. Because all footwork, what we would call, what Imad was mentioning, that people at the beginning of their careers are doing, analyzing, writing, all of that stuff, can be already today done by AI tools much faster and even much better if we are honest. I mean, writing summaries Even ChatGPT does today much better than any human being. So a lot of this footwork is going to disappear. So even within our profession, we have these pyramids of how you move upwards, and a lot of people start at the bottom, and then you have up or out, and so on and so forth. This is going to change because we don't need that many people on the baseline anymore. So all these changes are coming in and are going to change us, but the final result is going to be the same that steam engines meant for industry. We are going to be able to do much better and much more. So it's a serious transformation which is going on, and as Imad rightly observed, I think that academia and education in general, I would say from the primary school up to academia, is completely unprepared to what is happening, and it's one of the most outdated subsystems of our societies we have at the moment, because it's simply not able to catch up fast enough. Developing a program, an academic program, usually takes a couple of years, which means that there is practically no serious program that could be developed that already has AI in itself. That's why everybody is so anxious what to use, how to use it, what to do with it. I remember it's the same situation we used to have with Wikipedia. Wikipedia was used to say this is an strangest, collection of information. Don't use it. Use Encyclopedia Britannica. Today we know Encyclopedia Britannica is less reliable than Wikipedia. And the same is happening now with AI. We are still teaching our students how to look for books and what to read in that and how to write papers when they could do it, and they usually do it in 5 minutes using AI, and then professors have problem trying to figure out whether it was done with AI or not. So we will have to change that tremendously. I absolutely agree with that. And I think since we are running into the last 30 minutes of our debate, I suggest that Imad shows what he prepared as a recommendation for practitioners in public relations and public affairs. What are the key tools that everybody should be familiar with, and with what we should all be playing already now, those who are not playing with that yet? Please, Imad.
Sure.
Imad, sorry, Imad, go ahead.
No, I was just, before I do that, you said a couple of very important points in just like in the last couple of minutes. The key word for everything is change, and it's the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn, and that's the thing that you apply to yourself and your team, and it's across businesses. It's not academia who's always late on this, and I'm not saying they're wrong, because as you said, developing a new course or curriculum takes time, approvals, and making it part of the system. And
because we don't use AI to develop it.
Yeah, right? It's a big thing. But you're not the only ones. Like, usually technology moves much faster than bureaucracy. Even if you look at the legislations today out there, and the gold paper is a good example of what we're trying to preach in our industry. But if you look at regulations, AI today is impacting driverless cars, it's impacting so many things. There are no regulations that are governing a driverless car, insurance, what you do about this, what you do about that. So the technology is so fast that governments and legislators are trying to keep up, to create the infrastructure to enable those to happen. So there's always a debate between, should I block technology, and some countries do, because I don't have the legislation, or let it sprint, and then the rest will follow. So this is why we have to, the adoption of might change. And believe it or not, the majority of the work we do with CEOs and with boards is not on the technical side. Although we provide technical solutions that are adapted to our clients, the majority of the work we do is through services we offer as change management, internal adoption. It's like rolling out a new ERP, like when you have this huge ERP you want to put in the system for 2 years, and you have change management happening. Because if people don't change their mindset about breaking old habits, which are very hard to kill, and moving into new ways of doing things and accepting that, they will lose the momentum in the course. And the last example I would give, in 2008, when the internet, the global financial crisis happened, and we in the business of communications and publishing and so on and so forth, newspapers and the book industry and everything said, like, yes, internet has been there for 10, 15 years, but you know what? Nobody will, people will not stop reading newspapers. They love the smell of the paper. They're gonna open it and have a coffee, and they will not let go of that. And they kept fighting for this not to happen. They made the paper smaller, less papers, thinner papers, whatever it is. And over time, they closed doors. What they were not able to distinguish is between newspapers are dying, but journalism is not. So they confused, or they connected journalism and what they do, which is journalism, with the medium or the tool itself. And today we're in the same ecosystem. People are refusing to change habits, thinking that my job is changing or what I do is changing. But what's changing actually is not the medium, is the industry. It's not the practice. It's the medium and the channel. Now, ending with this, by all means, what I'm going to share right now is not an endorsement for any of these tools. These are things that we played with and we tried. I'm not favoring one of these. They are similar to these, so many others as well in the marketplace. Every day you have a new startup. But just as a wrap up, this here is a combination of tools that can be used in areas as content, generative content in text format or video format or imagery format. I tried as much as possible to put things here that are not costly or free of charge for people to play with. Of course, out there are tools that can be used as a freemium or a premium, and for small businesses and big businesses. So what you have here, the majority are things that can be used by practitioners, independent practitioners, or small-scale agencies if they don't have the big budgets. But you have tons of other tools that you can use out there. And if you need any, recommendation or anything, us as IPRA, the committee, AI committee, are more than more than happy as well to share with you these by email or any form of communication.
Actually, we will publish them. We will publish them on our website.
Again, this is a very short representation of things out there. There are hundreds of things that pop up every day. But the concept is, which I would like to end with, people ask me, like, what's your biggest advice when it comes to AI and what we are doing? And my continuous advice is, it's derived from the old saying, keep your friends close, but your enemy closer. Have your AI, if you consider it the enemy of your business, very close to your heart, because it's not going away. Today we're talking AI. If we do this session 3 years from today or 2 years from today, we're not going to be talking AI. Like today, nobody talks about internet because it's basic. It's part of our lives. So today we're saying AI. Tomorrow it's normal life. So make it your friend, not your enemy, as much as possible.
Okay, thank you very much, dear gentlemen, for the very, very, very insightful discussion. And if I can frame it or just mention my kind of key impressions out of it are two or maybe three. So first of all, AI needs a human touch. That's it. And the human touch comes in the form of critical thinking. And critical thinking is pretty much what we in PR do. We always start with the question why, and we never get bored asking the question why. So this means that we can teach, we are experiencing, we are exercising, but we are also teaching our colleagues, and not only our colleagues, our customers, to never get tired, ask the question why, which is where critical thinking comes up. So, and as many people on the planet will be able to exercise critical thinking, then we will have the chances to have AI on our side, as you say, Imad, and to have AI as a friend. And if I can go a bit a bit higher from the steam engine analogy, I would say we are at the point when AI is a sort of a nuclear power. But whether we use it for a bomb or for electricity, then it's totally up to us. And in order for us to influence the other people to use AI for electricity, it's PR that comes into a role. And it's the International PR Association, which is the ultimate platform to have this conversation going on. Once again, thank you very much. And Natasha, I'll invite you for one final comment before we close. But for our audience, I'd like to say that we will publish, of course, the recording of the webinar will be published on our IPRA website. We will also have a dedicated space within IPRA website to the AI chapter, where we will publish this list of tools that Imad shared today. We invite you to share with us the tools that you are using and the use cases that you are using or you having questions, so that we can keep the conversation going on. So thank you very much. It was a very insightful first IPRA webinar. Natasha, over to you.
Thank you, Svetlana. I was listening very, very carefully, and thank you both Dan and Imad, because this was more than insightful, and what you shared with us. I will start from the end, and I would like to ask Imad to add more AI tools considering visual communications. I don't see Midjourney, and I'm a huge fan of visual communications, because I think that they are important for last, let's say, 10, 15 years, and we really don't pay attention on that. So if you can add some of the AI tools to this list, I would really appreciate that. Also, I would like to thank you for your observation on C-suite, because I agree with you that our next address should be actually C-level. And that there is a huge difference even today between middle management and, you know, not having transparency in what they are doing and what information they have, and you cannot actually digitalize them with that attitude. So C-level, yeah, it's our address. And thank you, Dan, because you know it is important to hear from university professor, that we have to upgrade our academic levels. And of course, we are aware that communications are not privileged only to PR professionals today, and you can see a lot of people that it has nothing to do with actually graduation faculties or some diplomas or any expertise at level, but they communicate. C-level as well. They actually have to communicate, either they would like it or not. So I think that it would be really useful to somehow connect with our academic chapter that is going to be established very, very soon, and to upgrade in some way a level of learning. Maybe it doesn't have to be academic level, maybe some side seminars or certification or something like that, because we need to speed up and we need to start from elementary education. Thank you all. Thank you. It was a great day today.
Thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon or day or night.
Thank you. The same to you. Thank you, Svetlana.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.